she put on the garments of her widowhood.
Okay. Somebody else pick it up. Joe, can you?
When Judah sent the kid by his friend the Adullamite to recover the pledge from the woman, he could not find her. He asked the townspeople, "Where is the temple prostitute who was at Enon by the wayside?" But they said, "No prostitute has been here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I have not found her." Moreover, the townspeople said, "No prostitute has been here." Judah replied, "Let her keep the things as her own, otherwise we will be laughed at. You see, I sent this kid, and you could not find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the whore. Moreover, she is pregnant as a result of whoredom." And Judah said, "Bring her out, and let her be burned." As she was being brought out, she sent word to her father-in-law, "It was the owner of these who made me pregnant." And she said, "Take note, please, who these are, with signet and cord and staff." And Judah acknowledged them and said, "She is more in the right than I, since I did not give her to my son Sheba, and he did not lie with her again."
Okay. Okay. Levirate marriage. If a man dies and he has no heirs, his brothers have to do the honors for him and provide him with heirs. Onan does not want to do this. Onan says, not going to happen, and does coitus interruptus, and does not provide the heir for his brother. How many of you are old enough to remember that this story was told about masturbation for years? They were told, yeah? This story was told little boys for ages about spilling your seed.
You will die.
You will die. Little boys were told for a long, long time, if you spill your seed, you will die, because that's what happened to Onan.
I'm surprised they wanted to encourage the reading of the story. I mean, here he is sleeping with his sister-in-law, and father goes off and sleeps with a prostitute. And
oh, they don't even tell you that part of the story. You know, that she gets pregnant by her father-in-law. That's unimportant.
Immaterial.
Strange. Anyway, this spilling your seed received a name in the literature. It was called onanism, and it was a synonym for masturbation for a long time. Okay?
I'm not quite sure I understand the logic behind this. Giving your brother heirs. I mean, wouldn't his
well,
brothers...
remember the position of women. That's the first thing you have to remember. If a woman doesn't have a male to attach to, she has nothing.
Worthless.
She's worthless.
Well, if they don't appear to have any problem with multiple marriages, so why not just have one of the brothers take her on as an extra wife?
Well, that's what he's supposed to do. Either provide her with an heir or marry her. But nobody wanted to.
These children would have all the rights that the children
of
the older son,
yes.
The older son would have?
Yes.
So that sounds like they're concerned more with perpetuating some kind of good life for the wife, the widow.
It's the direct bloodline.
The lineage.
Yeah, it was to take care of the widow, because she had to have husband, father, son, brother, okay? And if she didn't have, she might have been Hagar under the bush waiting to die, or to act as a prostitute. I mean, there weren't really many things that were open to her. Yeah.
I think the question is the men and their inheritance rights. If the oldest son dies, and the second son then becomes the oldest one to earn the majority, if he gives the first wife an heir, does that mean he loses his majority right to the heir? And is that what he's worried about and why he doesn't want to have...
That may have been if he had no other children. Usually, by the time this comes up, he's had other children. But in Onan's case, that's possible that he had no other children.
Well, even if he had children, I think what she's asking is, the oldest son was supposed to inherit the majority of the estate. If the oldest son dies, does his son then therefore inherit instead of... His grandson inherits instead of...
Okay. What should have happened was that Onan provides Tamar with a son, okay, who then becomes the heir to her husband's goods. He is the older son of that man. Meanwhile, Onan has his own children, and his older son then becomes the heir to his goodies. Okay?
So Onan was afraid that the son he gave her would get more than he did and his children did.
Right. It's a greedy world.
I find it interesting, though, that he'd have wanted, when he found out that his daughter-in-law was pregnant by he didn't know who, wanted to put her to death. When he found out it was his, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Well, because he felt that she had achieved justice at his expense.
There was a patriarch to that child.
Yeah.
It was his now. And
Family get-togethers must have been murder.
no pun intended.
Literally.
These people really needed life insurance. It would have solved a lot of problems.
Oh.
Talk about your dysfunctional family.
It's interesting that brother-in-law, which is kind of an odd concept anyway, appears only twice in the Old Testament. Once in this story and once in the story of Ruth. And both of them are ancestors of Jesus.
What about the premium would have been on a 400-sheet policy?
3 camels and a calf.
I'm getting you too.
Okay, but you can see why I call these the sex stories, because I didn't know what else to do with them except put them all together and let you enjoy them all at once. I started out when we began by saying that myths were the religious stories told around the campfire, and folk stories were the sexual stories told around the campfire. Can you imagine the fun they had with these around the campfire?
Yeah, and how they ended up.
So, okay. That's as far as I'm going to go tonight. Next week, we're going to do Joseph, Coat of Many Colors, which doesn't exist. And then we're going to get into Egypt and leave them there, and Moses is going to get them out. Okay? And we will be through with Genesis. I certainly haven't, told every story, but all those that were worth telling have been told.
Good job.
Marvelous job.
If that code of things existed, I saw the musical.